recording. So thank you for those who've joined us live. If you're watching for the replay, I hope that you get your value that you need. You can always email me afterwards. So welcome. So as Shanna says, she sat in a leaders session. And what the leaders session was is to kind of give a high-level overview of what we're going to be going through for you guys over the next 3 sessions today and the next 2 sessions. And so that they can support you, because there's nothing worse than you going on some training, but the leaders have no idea what that training is, and they can't support you, or they can't give you the resources, or you can't even have conversations with you about the training afterwards. So we've made sure that your leaders have gone through first, which is awesome. We got some really good feedback. They were able to apply some things. They were able to apply some things straight away, and other things took a couple of days, and for them to reflect and things like that. So let me tell you what it is that you're in for. You're here for health and wellness. And what that means is not health and safety. We're not going to be talking about how safe you are in the workplace, because you already know that. You have some great policies in place, and there is health and safety training coming, although I think that might be for leaders. But I want to ask you a couple of questions, first of all. By show of hands, how many of you have been experiencing some stress since last year? Any stress? Yep. Most of you have put your hands up here. There's a stress epidemic happening right now. In fact, 2/3 of people are experiencing stress. And for those other third, they're lying. Everybody's experiencing some kind of stress. Now, stress can range from, a little bit of, oh, that's a bit annoying and a bit overwhelming, to, oh my God, the sky is falling, right? We all know people who are one end of the spectrum, and we know people who are at the other end of the spectrum. But I'm not here to talk about how we get rid of that stress. We're not. There's going to be certain things that you can control and certain things that you can't control. And it's going to be very personally orientated. But here's the key. It's not always about the stress. It's about how we react to it, how we actually deal with the stress that comes our way. Now, let me just talk for a moment about our actual stress response. You'll notice that I have this dinosaur on the screen. There's a reason why it's there. And that's because our brains, believe it or not, haven't actually evolved since dinosaur days. Sometimes it might actually feel that way too. But no, since caveman days, our brains haven't evolved. We've given more space for more information, but we haven't actually evolved from a stress perspective. What that means is, back in the dinosaur days, there was no having to pay a bill. There was no, will I lose my job? There wasn't those kind of stresses. Life was extremely simple. Very, very dangerous, but very, very simple. Meaning that the worst that they had to deal with was a dinosaur chasing them, right? Or bad weather where they had to take cover. But they figured that out pretty well. But what happens is our brain still reacts just like there's a dinosaur chasing us. Now, does anybody in the room here know actually what happens to your body and your brain when you experience stress? Take a guess. What do you think happens?
You get tired or fatigued.
Yeah, why is that? Does anyone know why? And the opposite can happen too. You can be really energized by it. Has anyone ever had a stressful situation and you've got filled full of adrenaline, you can't sleep and your body's like almost buzzing? Anyone felt like that? Or their mind's going a million times an hour? Yeah, some of us experienced this. Say that again, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Guys, I'm going to put my microphone a bit closer to me. Hopefully you can hear me. Maybe you can turn up the volume a little bit. I've turned up my volume here to hopefully help you with that. Sorry we've had to connect via phone today. I'm really distracted next to me as well because I've got some people, I can't believe they're doing it right now. They're putting some fiber internet lines in. So if I all of a sudden disappear, I'm going to come back on my phone. Okay, so just let you know. So I'm like, what are you doing? Please do not dig up my internet. Anyway, let's go back to the stress response here. So what happens from your physical body and in your brain is it's like you actually have like a little bit of a tap inside your brain. And the very second you feel any stress, it floods your brain and then your body with some hormones. It floods it with adrenaline. It actually floods it with cortisol. And what cortisol does, it actually numbs the thinking part of our brain, which is why when we're stressed, we don't always make the best decisions. Have you noticed that? It's under stress that we say the things we don't mean. It's under stress that we make decisions and afterwards we go, ooh, not sure why I did that. Might have been a bit stressed because we're still dealing with the dinosaur, right? So we need to start looking at how we're reacting to stress. And that's what a lot of this particular session is going to be about. Now, here's a couple of symptoms. You were right. I think Karen mentioned it before. There's some symptoms of stress, anxiety, headaches, not sleeping, sleeping too much or not sleeping at all. Some people get stomach problems, that lack of energy, that horrible fatigue that we feel. Has anybody felt any of these over the last year by show of hands? Yeah. Now look at how many hands there is around the room. But let me ask you this. When you have one of these symptoms, so let's take a headache as an example. When you get a headache, what is the first thing that you do?
Take the Tylenol.
Yeah. Yeah, you go reach for the Tylenol. We want to get rid of the pain, right? Because it's annoying. It's getting in the way of your day. You don't want to be full of pain, right? That's the challenge. We run for the Tylenol. We're not actually dealing with the stress or our reaction to stress. We deal with the headache. So then when the pain medication goes away, the stress is still there and our reaction to the stress is still there. So yes, we need to be dealing with the headache. Nobody wants to be in pain. But more importantly, we need to be dealing with the reactions to stress and the stress itself. And here's what we're going to be dealing with. So the great news is that, Rome wasn't built in a day, but I'm very, very aware that for you guys, it is slightly different because you're in the essential worker space. You guys do not have a choice but to leave your home. While the government is saying, do not leave your home, you're like, well, great, I kind of have to because I'm in the essential worker space. So would you say it's fair to say that it's slightly different for you guys? Yeah, it's different. You guys don't get the choice, right? Well, you kind of do that choice, but you just don't get paid, unfortunately, if you don't go to work, right? But here's a real key. What's been focused on for the longest time is personal protective equipment. Well, someone from another manufacturing plant said just a few weeks ago, he said, health and safety has been focused on in the workplace for many, many years, but there's been a big focus on safety and not enough of health. And now more than ever, we've got to start taking care of our mental health protection. And I don't mean, if we're completely losing the plot. I mean, from the very second that you start to feel stressed or you feel very, very overwhelmed, you need to start having tools on how to deal with that. So this session today is going to be focusing on how to deal with our stress and our reaction to it. The next session, we're going to talk about how to actually look after yourself, how to recharge yourself, how to know what you need and what you should be doing about it. And then we're also going to be looking at how you rebuild your community, because since COVID, everything has changed and we want things to not go back to normal because normal wasn't completely working, but we want to build things to be better. Okay, so that's what we're going to be dealing with today. So the good news is they're going to give you lots of tools to deal with this. So if you bear with me a second, I'm going to pop a video on. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to stop sharing a second. I'm going to share again. So I want to make sure the sound on here. Okay, so we're going to see just how focused you guys actually are. Let me just pull up my volume to the highest because I want to make sure that you guys can hear this. All right, so let's get ready.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
All right, let's see. How many passes did we get?
I counted 11.
We got 13.
I got 14. 14.
0 between teams.
We got 11, 13, and 15. Any takers higher or lower than 15 and lower than 11?
So 14. 14.
Some of you say 14 as well. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Let's take a look at exactly how many passes there was.
The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
Who saw the gorilla?
Yeah.
Some of you did. Some of you are saying, what are you talking about? How many of you right now are saying, what gorilla are you talking about? Be honest. All right. Now. Let me show you.
No. Look at, he's walking right in the middle of the canola. Look right at the camera. Yeah, I was counting. Yeah.
So for the gorilla, now let me tell you, first of all, that most people get it wrong on how many passes there are, and most people do not see the gorilla. I've been showing this video for many, many years, and it's absolutely true. A lot of people don't see it. So for those who didn't see the gorilla, now I've shown you the video. Why do you think you did not see the gorilla?
Yeah, he's been watching the white shirt.
You're busy watching, but that gorilla was really obvious. It's not like he's the smallest gorilla going across the screen. This big gorilla, and he's like, hello. It was blaringly obvious, no?
Focused on white shirt.
You're only focusing on one thing, correct? So for those people who did see the gorilla, why do you think you saw the gorilla and not the others?
I think because there's something different in the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walked in and
Yeah,
completely different and had a different color head.
that's right, yeah.
So it caught your eye. So I'm here to tell you that those that did see the gorilla, which is actually quite rare to have that proportion in a room, see the gorilla. So congratulations to you guys. It means your energy is quite high still today. So go you guys. But it shows that you're focusing on more than one thing at a time. You're almost multitasking. We know that multitasking is a myth, but you're almost multitasking. You're looking out for other things coming your way, right? And those people who didn't see the gorilla, I'm not saying this right or wrong just yet, those people who didn't see the gorilla are super focused, super focused. So if I want like some intricate work done, you're the people to come to. But why am I even showcasing you this? It's because sometimes this is actually quite dangerous. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have driven somewhere and thought, how did I get here? I don't remember stopping at stoplights. I don't remember stopping at the traffic lights. How many of you have experienced that? And part of you goes, that was kind of cool. I got here and I've no idea how I've got here. And then another part of you says, what? That could have been really dangerous. Does anybody know how it is that you're able to drive and not be aware of it? Does anyone know how that even happens? What is happening? Say that again, sorry.
Motor memory?
Overpowering? Can you tell me a bit more about that? What do you mean by that?
Like the motor memory.
Yes, you're right. You have something called a reticular activating system for anyone that's interested. And what that does is you don't have to, there's going to be no quiz. Don't worry about writing it down. They call it the RAS. And it's where you are daydreaming. Okay, we have to daydream. We have to clear out the clutter in our mind. That's what daydreaming is. Okay, it's preparing. It's like if you think of your brain like a filing cabinet. It's taking out the stuff that doesn't serve us. I don't care when that person's birthday is. I don't need this info. I don't care that Betty's buying a new pink refrigerator. And we throw out all the information. That's when we're daydreaming. And we actually daydream every 12 minutes. But sometimes we daydream more than others, which is when it takes over on automatic pilot. But the danger is, if we're on automatic pilot all the time, we could miss the gorillas. So let me ask you this. If you're driving and you're daydreaming, you're not focused on absolutely everything around you, do you think you would notice if a car pulled out of a driveway really quickly or a child ran out into the road to catch a ball? Do you think you'd notice?
So far I have.
No, if you're in automatic pilot, you wouldn't. And I'm going to tell you why. So your brain has one job. One job only, and that's to keep you safe. It's not designed to make you happy. It's not designed to do any of these things, stay optimistic and be brilliant and all that. Its job is to keep you safe. In fact, every 5 seconds, even when you're asleep, it says, am I safe? Am I in danger? Am I safe? Am I in danger? Now, if things come at you slowly, like a traffic light, you see it. You're still looking through your eyes. You see the traffic light, you will have stopped. But if unusual things happen and they happen very fast, your reaction levels are a lot lower. It's a little bit like if you were to attempt to get high or get drunk or be under the influence of any kind of strong pharmaceuticals, your reaction time would be a lot less. You would hit the child, you would smash into the back of the car that's coming out. That's because on automatic pilot, your brain can only do what it routinely knows happens. Oh, when I see a traffic light, here's what I do. I have time to put on the brake and I slowly stop. Child run after a ball, car coming out of his driveway, you're not going to see. Okay. Now, let me ask you, what would be the dangers of that in the workplace? If you're only focused on one task. So let's say part of your task is moving this equipment over here to over here. And all you saw was the equipment. You're only looking at the equipment and you're taking it from here to here. What's the danger of that? Is it dangerous?
Something out in the way, or
yeah, you can miss hazards. Yeah, you could miss a hazard for yourself. You could create a hazard for somebody else. For example, you could miss a fault in a system, fault in machinery. Please bear with me because I don't fully know your actual jobs that you articulate or your process, but we're missing things. And this is true everywhere. So let's just take it out of the workplace, for example. We are so distracted. In fact, 47% of our day, even before COVID, was focused on things in the past or planning or worrying about the future. 47% of our day. So can you imagine since COVID, it's increased. So let's say it's even only increased by say 20%. Let's say it's only gone up to 62%, for example. That's still a massive portion of your day where you're not focusing on everything that's happening around you. And we do it outside of COVID, and it's dangerous. There is a new pandemic. It's called lack of mindfulness. We need to be more present. I'm going to give you another example of that. Let's take Brent. Brent, can you tell me the last time you went on an actual vacation? And I don't necessarily mean on a plane. Might have been camping at the cottage. Tell me the last time you took a vacation.
Oh, it's been 2 years.
Where did you go?
Last March. Or 2 Marches ago, I guess.
2 Marches ago. Whereabouts did you go? Did you go camping? Did you go to a cottage? Did you go?
Traveled south for 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. You lucky man. Lucky man. All right. So you're there for 2 weeks. Tell me, how many times do you think during that 2-week time, so you could have been sat by the swim up bar, having a margarita or, eating some seafood, whatever it was, and you're in paradise and you've got all the cool people around you, you're making friends, you've got the people that you came with, you're having a great time. How many times while you were there do you think you were distracted by other things? Thinking about work, maybe thinking about the basement you have to clean up, the amount of laundry you're going to come home to, emails, social media, stuff that had nothing to do with your environment that you're in right now. How many times do you think you were distracted while you were there?
The first day or so it happened a couple of times, but after that, very little.
Because you've allowed yourself to be present, right? Have you noticed when you go away for a weekend, it takes you until, so if let's say you leave work on a Friday, right? And let's say you've worked the morning shift, you leave work on a Friday, you travel somewhere for the weekend, the first night, the second night, by Sunday night, you're totally relaxed, but then you have to go home. Has anyone experienced that? Yeah. It's really frustrating. It's because that wind down time between work and actually getting to vacation takes a long time. In fact, Brent, you might be surprised to know that it actually takes about 8 days for people to be 100% present in their vacation, which is why they actually recommend you take at least 10 days vacation if you can. Now, that the rest of the world has a lot more vacation than Canada. I had 7 weeks as standard in the UK. Mm-hmm. When you start a new job, you start at 4 weeks.
7 weeks is standard in the UK.
Yeah. Now I'm in Canada now, You can tell by my accent, I am from the UK, I'm from Manchester in England. I've been here 11 years now. So to come here and they offered me 2 weeks and I said, are you joking me? What is this 2 weeks palaver? But you also have to recognize in the UK, we don't have good weather ever. It's horrible. You have to go far, far away to get good weather, which is why we get a lot of holiday. But anyway, my point is, we're even on vacation and we're thinking about things. How many people have been sat at the dinner table with all the cool people around you and your mind's somewhere else? Your mind's on something that's taken up something, whether it's a problem you're going through or work or a friendship or a relationship. Has anyone been distracted? Yeah. Right now, at least some of you at least have gone, what's for dinner? Or, oh, do I have to do any more work when I go back after this? Like you're not even here. You're somewhere else. It happens very frequently. But here's the challenge. It's causing us a lot of stress and it's happening more because of COVID. There are more car accidents. There is a big lack of people being present. There are more health and safety issues in the workplace than ever before. There is more absenteeism. There is more absenteeism at home. Less people are fully present. Their minds are somewhere else. It happens a lot. But would you accept that if that was a surgeon working on a part of your body to make you feel better? You wouldn't accept it, right? Would you accept that if they were a lifeguard and they were only focusing on one part of the lake and not where your children were swimming? Right? We don't want to be distracted. So we need to start looking at where we're distracted and what we can do about it. And it's all about what we're listening to and the information that we're taking in. Let me give you an example of one of those. One of those is social media. Where are my people who are on Facebook? Yeah, a couple on Facebook, maybe Instagram, Twitter. Yeah. So how many of you, since the start of the pandemic, found that there's some people who you don't enjoy reading their statuses anymore? People who have surprised you with what they've posted. And it could be totally unaligned with your values, or it could be they have a theory about COVID and your theory is completely different, right? More than ever, people are following and unfollowing different sets of friends than ever before, because people are recognizing that the second you pick this up on a break and the second that you go onto social media and you're able to take a look at what's actually going on in the world, people are starting to get stressed because they've read an article on what's happening with the vaccine. They've seen somebody post, it's not fair, this happened to a friend of mine's child and they're now wanting to commit suicide. It's not fair, people are homeschooling, blah, 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 blah. There's very little good news in the world because good news doesn't sell. Have you noticed that? They make the money from the bad news because remember, our brain's job is to keep us safe. We want to know about dangers so we can keep ourselves safe. That's what our brain tells us. But it actually makes us really, really down in the dumps. It makes us extremely stressed and makes us really anxious. So number one, I invite you to take a look at social media. Who are you following? Are you following the people who are aligned with your values? Are you following the people who are making you feel the way that you want to feel? So if you want to feel really negative, then keep following the negative people. If you want to feel very positive or you want to feel like there's some change in the world, then follow people who are in the change for the world. But I invite you to take a look at that. The next one is this. I spoke to a manufacturing plant. I've just finished speaking to them at 1 o'clock today. I had one of their final session. And they said the difference between the first session and the third session, one big difference was they turned off CP24. Now in their plant, they have TVs in the corner, generally more for sound purposes, or they have the radio on the go, and they've been having CP24 go on loops. What happens if you just continuously watch the news right now, do you think? It's really depressing. It's very, very depressing. You know, you don't go on there and it goes 10 o'clock news, New Zealand free of COVID, and these people have won awards and da-da-da, and that's all for today, folks. Oh no, they're like doom, gloom, rape, pillage, murder, bombs, floods, fires, blah, blah, blah. So nobody walks away from watching the news going, oh, I feel really good. Aren't I having a great day? Everyone's like, Holy smokes, the world's blooming bonkers, or words to that effect. Maybe you don't use those actual terminology because you're not from the UK. Does anyone use the word bonkers? It's very British, that, isn't it? But I'm inviting you to take a look. I'm inviting you to take a look at being bonkers means it's from actually bonking two heads together. When kids are like naughty, when they were younger, like in boarding school and stuff, they used to bonk their heads together. That's why it's bonkers. It makes you crazy. Right. Anyway, news. Take a look at how frequently you're listening to the news and watching the news, and take a look at how that's affecting who you are. I'm not inviting you to do the same, or maybe I am. In 2012, I decided to cut out TV. I don't have TV. I have Netflix and I have Prime. That's it. I watch zero news. If something important is happening in the world, someone's going to message me about it, or I'm going to see it on social media because I have the people who I want to follow. I'm following the news that I want to follow. I'm following, right? The hashtags that I want to know about, I'm following on Twitter. Start having boundaries on what you're listening to and how it's affecting you, because it really, really does have an effect on your stress. And then this one is equally as important. Who knows somebody that no matter what happens to them, they're a really positive person? Does anyone know someone like that? Nobody knows any really positive people? Yeah, it sounds like it. But on the other side of the coin, you have people where the smallest thing can happen to them and it's like the sky is falling, and no matter what you say to them, so you could say, hey, did you hear that, Karen's daughter's getting married? Oh, she doesn't want to do that. It's very expensive getting married, and 60% of marriages end up in divorce, doom, gloom. Everyone knows someone like that. Or, oh, someone's having a baby. Oh, they're never going to get any sleep, right? No matter what you say to them, they're really negative. Does anyone know someone like that?
Oh,
yeah. You may or may not work with someone like that, or you might live with someone like that, which is equally as frustrating. We know we know people like that. Again, have a boundary. Who are you listening to? They call it an earworm, right? If you're constantly listening to someone who's negative, guess how you're going to feel? If you're constantly watching the news, guess how you're going to feel? If you're constantly following people who are all doom, gloom, things are bad, nothing good, you're going to start to feel negative. And these are all the things that are collecting onto our stress. Because has anybody heard of the word stacking before? Yeah, what does stacking mean?
Like each and every problem you're adding on top of it, and eventually it's, as you stack it up, it's going to fall to the side.
Yeah, 100% right. It's, you get one little negative thing and another negative thing, and then before you know it, like, and this is why we get really angry about the smallest of things. It's because there's lots of small things stacked on top of one another. Stacking is very, very real. And this is where a lot of our stress is coming from right now. And we might not feel that we're massively stressed about COVID or other things that are happening in the world, because COVID is not the only challenge right now, right? We've got our regular challenges in life and other things happening in the economy and so on and so forth. But if you're hearing one little negative thing and then other things are going on top of it, of course, you're going to feel stress, and of course, you're going to feel depressed. So let's start getting rid of the things that are causing the headaches and start having boundaries as to what and who you're listening to. I'm telling you, it's going to make a big difference. So I've already told you 47% of the time we're thinking about the past, or we're worrying or planning for the future. That is the human brain right now anyway, but it's compounded. But we also need to bear in mind that this really great phase, where focus goes, energy flows. Let me tell it to you one more time. Where focus goes, energy flows. Let me give you an example of this. Has anybody been in a car accident before? Just me. Oh my gosh, has no one been in a car accident? Oh, you have. Okay, a couple of you have. All right. I was going to say that's really great. Maybe I'm a really bad driver. They've never been my fault. Now, has everyone driven a really, really fast car before? Like gone on like a Mosport Experience Day? Yeah, you have. That's Eric. Did you say your name was?
Yeah, Aaron.
Eric, oh, I'm beg your pardon, Aaron. Aaron, tell me, what were you driving that was really fast?
All kinds of different cars, but like Corvette, things like that. Super.
Nice. Corvettes have the best pull, right? They have the like, yeah, I love that about Corvettes. I have a couple of friends who race Corvettes, actually, obviously not at the moment. Very expensive sport. Actually, they do it at Mosport, funnily enough. But something you'll notice when you go really, really fast, if ever you've been in a race car specifically, we're talking about race cars. I'm going to tell you this story. So this one particular gentleman went to have one of these race car experience days, right? Super, super cool, so fast. But obviously the instructors have to be really, really clear on instructions, because you can do a lot of damage to these cars because they go at like lightning speed. They're just flying. Like, you need nothing in front of you. You need to have a very, very big awareness, right? So unlike the gorilla, you can't only just be focusing on one bit. You've got to focus on everything, what's coming at you, what's coming next, what's around the corner. You have to have really clear focus. It's not something you can do completely hungover. You've got to be totally present, right? And one of the first things that the instructor said to him was, if you feel that we're going to crash, or you're getting very, very close to a wall or a stack of tires or whatever it is that you feel that you might have impact with, do not focus on the tires. Focus on where you want to go. So the guy's like, well, very clearly that's what I'm going to do. Well, anyway, sure enough, so this guy had a whole day, like he shared it with 4 or 5 other people, but it was a whole day. So he was in and out of this car. And then there's one time he got a bit cocksure about himself, and he was getting really, really close to these tires. And the instructor grabbed his face and turned it to the left. And just at the last minute, he was able to turn, because had he been looking at the tires that he was about to have impact to, do you think it's more or less likely he's going to hit them if he's looking at the tires?
Definitely more.
Yeah, why?
If you're focused on going straight, you don't.
Right. What you focus on, you're going to experience. If you focus on negativity, you're going to get more negativity. You focus on being positive, you're going to get more positivity. If you're focused on what's for dinner tonight and not the job you're doing, you're going to make mistakes. If you're focusing on cleaning out the basement rather than enjoying that margarita on vacation, you're going to focus on the basement and miss out on this relaxing vacation, right? Where focus goes, energy flows. So I'm asking you, just like a racing car driver, and yeah, absolutely 100%, it's going to make a massive difference by him moving his head. Your whole body follows. Your body goes, oh, that's where they want to go. And they're going to go closer to where you want to go, because otherwise it's going to go, oh, so then we're hitting these tires, are we? Okay, let's brace ourselves, right? You've got to look at where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. Really, really important. Where focus goes, energy flows. We need to start, what's getting our focus? So I'm going to ask you to do another focus exercise for me. Oh, wait, have a look around the room right now. Let's just take 30 seconds, each of you. Take a look around the room and count how many things that you see that are the color brown. Okay, 5 more seconds. Look at people's shirts, look at the shoes, look at the floor, purses, artwork. Okay, so how many things did we see that were the color brown?
I think we're up to about 12.
Okay, that's not bad going. So that means that you're not in the most boring room in the world. I delivered this to a manufacturing plant a couple of days ago, and then someone said 20 something. I said, you need some color in your office. There needs to be some color. How boring. It's only have brown. Okay, that's pretty good. How many things, while you were counting how many things were brown, did you see that were red consciously? Don't go around and look for them now. How many things did you see that were red? But you don't really know because you were focusing on the brown, just like you're not seeing the gorilla, right? We need to look at everything. We need to be looking at the big picture. We need to be be conscious of everything that's happening around us. Now, there probably were a few of you in the room that actually saw red things and thought, how can I make that brown? Well, it's kind of a shade of brown, so I'll choose that too, right? The competitive people, where's my competitive people in the room? I should imagine a couple of you were doing that. Yeah. And that happens again because we're so laser vision focused, but there's a danger in this. We're not seeing things. There could be accidents, right? We're missing out on some really awesome things happening. I'll give you an example of that. Do you remember the day that all that craziness happened at Capitol Hill? Well, I tried to keep off social media that day, and a friend of mine messaged me. She says, you have to go on Twitter. You've just got to see what's happening now. It's when they completely burst in, right? And I was sat there designing a new training program, and I got sucked into the rabbit hole so badly. I lost 2 hours of my life just scrolling and seeing what people were posting and photographs and videos and just craziest news articles. And my kids came and told me they were hungry. I didn't even notice what time it was. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I made something for them to eat. And I'm sat at the dinner table and I'm just totally thinking about what happened at Capitol Hill. Now, all that time, I probably lost like 3 hours of my life giving my focus to something that doesn't serve me. Yes, we need to be aware of current affairs. Yes, we need to be aware of how things affect us. But at the same time, I missed out on quality time designing value for my clients. So I had to work at night instead. I missed out on quality time with my children. I missed out on potentially questions they were asking or stories they were telling. That's my family. That's priority, not that orange guy that used to be president of the United States, right? Where was I focusing on that? So what I'm asking you to do is take a look. What's getting your focus right now? Are the right things getting your focus? Because that's what's adding to our stress. So like I said, there's a lack of mindfulness. So if I ask you to tell me, what does it mean to be mindful? How would you describe this? This is one definition. How do you describe being mindful? What does it mean to you? If someone says, oh, you need to be mindful of that, what does it mean?
Situational awareness.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head. It's awareness. Let's all start being aware of everything that's happening around us. We need to be more present. And I'm going to teach you a technique. Let me do a time check here. Okay, good. We're doing good for time. I'm going to teach you a technique. Now, when I teach this to people, first of all, the first thought that goes through many people's minds, and this may do for you too, is that's really common sense and that's super simple. Seriously, are you asking us to do this? But I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think just because it's common sense that it's common?
Not anymore.
Common sense isn't all that common, right? But what I mean by that is we know what we should be doing, but we get distracted by other things. So we end up not doing it, right? We all know what's going to make us the best day. We all know what's going to keep us alive longer, but it doesn't mean that we're going to do it, right? Knowing it and doing it are two different things. And I really invite you, as I invited your leaders to try the STOP method. And I'm going to tell you, after I've taught it, a couple of people who, because I've delivered this session since January the 2nd, I've probably delivered this session over 100 times now. I think we're getting close to 100 with you guys, actually. And at the second session, I always say to people, who's tried this and what value do you get? And I'm telling you, at least 60% of the people will have tried it, and everyone that's tried it's got value. So let me introduce you to it. Has anyone heard this before, the STOP method, before I go through it? Anyone here that's heard of it before? No, it's really new to you. Okay, so like I said, it's going to sound really simple. The very second you find yourself having an emotion or feeling a bit stressed, and we all know our own symptoms of, are you aware of what happens to you personally when you get stressed? What I mean by that is I know when I get stressed because my shoulders like go up a bit. I get like really tense shoulders and I think, oh, I'm getting a bit stressed here because I'm really aware of the pain in my shoulders. Like, does anyone else get stress in different places in the body? Some people get backache when they get a bit stressed. Now, some people get headaches, things like that. We stop being aware of it. But anyway, the second you feel yourself having a heightened emotion or acting in a way that you don't really want to act, you know it's not your best self, I'm inviting you to stop. Just stop what you're doing. So let's take me, for example. At the dinner table, I've taken all this stuff of Capitol Hill, and then I'm like, wait a minute, why am I letting this bother me? Because it was actually filling me full of anxiety. It was giving me like heart palpitations. I'm thinking, I can't believe this is even happening in the world. Like, it really got me a bit crazy, and I started to feel a bit angry and sad about the situation. So I went, okay, this is not how I want to feel right now. I need to stop what I'm doing. I need to take some deep breaths. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get the symbols out and you're like, at the table, right, or anything like that. It's really simple, just to yourself, and you can do this anywhere that you are. You just take some deep breaths. Just some deep breaths. Why do we tell you to take deep breaths? Why are we constantly told that? Why does that even work?
Brain needs oxygen.
Yes. Who said that?
Justin.
Yay! High five. Someone give Justin a virtual high five, right? High five to you, Justin. You're absolutely right. Your brain, if it doesn't have enough oxygen, that's where we start to make really bad decisions. So you get flooded with this cortisol that numbs the part of the brain that makes the decisions. But without the right amount of oxygen, we can't make good decisions about life. We can't critically think. This is why we have two decisions, fight or flight. There's actually about 1,000 decisions you can make. But under stress, we either fight it or we run away from it. Right? But we want to make better decisions in life. So when we take 2 deep breaths, 2 is just enough to flood your brain with oxygen so it can start thinking clearly again. So 2 deep breaths, 2 deep breaths, okay? Then you observe what's really going on around me. So there I am at the dinner table. I feel myself getting stressed. I'm a bit sad. I take 2 deep breaths and I go, I'm really sorry, guys. What was it you were saying, Lily? And then I have a conversation with my daughter, right? And then how I'm going to proceed is I'm going to turn off Twitter for the night. I do not want to see what's happening. I don't want to know if someone's been murdered by having something crazy in their pocket. That is the craziest story I've ever heard. Hear that? You know what I'm talking about. And then you take action. So I told this story early January. I told them about a different scenario where I was feeling a bit stressed, and here was my scenario, and I tried this. So I give it out. So the next time that I deliver this session 2 to this one particular plant, as I will say to you guys as well, who's tried this method and what results have you had from it? And this one guy said, you know what? I suffer from a bit of road rage sometimes. Anyone here resonate with that? Does anyone feel a bit of road rage sometimes? Get frustrated with other drivers? Come on, admit it. Thank you. Mr. Speedy Gonzalez. I see it, Aaron. Right, it's true. So this one particular guy said that he was driving to work and it was really early. He was on like a 5 o'clock start shift. This one guy, for just no reason, cut him off. So there's quite a few people wanting to come off at this one particular junction. I can't remember where it was he worked. I wish I remember which manufacturing plant. But anyway, someone cut him off and he said, instantly went, oh, because he's so used to getting angry at people that did that. And he said, I heard your voice, Ella. And I said, stop. I took some deep breaths and said, you know, maybe he's on his way to hospital. Maybe he has something, maybe he's late for work. Maybe his wife's having a baby. And he just kept thinking about all these different scenarios and said, I'm just going to carry on with my day. I'm not going to get stressed about it. Now, it's really easy for me to tell you this story about him not getting stressed with it. But what he would have done normally is, because I asked him, I said, what would have normally happened? He said, I would have got mad. I probably would have thrown some hand gestures in the air, a few swear words out the window. And, you know, then I would have got to work and said, God, I can't believe that guy. This guy cut me off and this happened and blah, blah, blah. And then he would have gone home from work and told his wife and kids about it. Oh, you won't believe what happened to me on the way to work. This happened. Da, da, da. And this stress would have stayed with him all day. And that stress is what's stopping us from seeing everything around us, right? And making us sick, giving us these headaches, not being our best selves. So he said the second that he did that, yes, he was still a bit irked by this guy cut him off. But he said at the end of the day, I was 1 car length later than normal for work, and I wasn't even late for work. So really, why was I making a big deal of it? And now he's got into a better pattern around not having road rage quite as much. So I invite you to do the same thing. Whenever you're feeling a little bit of emotion, and whether that's heightened sadness, heightened stress, anger, frustration, disappointment, or anything like that, I want you to stop what you're doing. Take some deep breaths, really seeing what's actually happening around you, and take action on that, not on what happened in the past, not on what's going to happen in the future. Take action on what's happening today. And if you start practicing this, you're actually going to experience more of what's happening, and you're going to get more of the benefits. You're going to be safer. You're going to create more safety for other people. And it really, really does have a massive effect. And I look forward to talking to you about it in the next session, because I'm telling you, if you practice this, really cool things can happen. Now, we're coming to the end of the session here. Let me just do another time check. Okay, beautiful. I'd love to know, what did you guys find interesting the most out of this particular session today? Let's maybe go around the table. Aaron, do you want to start us off?
I think the monkey part, people couldn't see it.
Yeah, it's scary, eh? If you want to show it to other people, just look up on YouTube gorilla experiment. Right? And actually, no, don't use up those words. Look up gorilla focus experiment and show it to other people. 9 out of 10 people do not see the gorilla. It's quite fascinating. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Brent?
Yeah, same. It's a lot like those perspective pictures that you see on social media, that everybody sees something a different way.
Right. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Or the ones that are like, where's Waldo right now with Bernie and his mittens? Some people can find it, some people can't. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Brent. Marilyn?
I think just knowing that everybody's going through the same emotions, the same stress, the same, not being able to see their families and not going out and not going on vacation. I think knowing that we all kind of answer the same questions, all the same, because we're all feeling the same thing. So we're not alone in all this.
Right. Although it can feel very isolating, can't it? Because other people are perceived to not having the same stress, because not everybody talks about stress the same way or talks about it at all. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Marilyn. Marlene?
Yeah, I thought the grill part was the most interesting, I thought, too. It's quite amazing how some people see it and then others don't. Like, 2 out of the 6 of us said they couldn't see it. And like, Marilyn, like, well, how could you not see it? Like, it's more as how people are so focused on the object, what they're supposed to be focused on. They jump down.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Justin?
Yeah, I was also very surprised that I didn't see the gorilla myself.
Yeah.
But, I am very cat-oriented, so.
That's true.
And you know what? And give yourselves a break, because for those that didn't see it, most people don't see it. So for the fact that 6 of you did shows that you guys have got really good energy and good focus today. It also means that you guys that didn't see it have laser vision focus. If you want something really intricate doing, give it to these guys, because they'll do a really good job. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Justin. And then, and last but not least, Karen.
And I like to think, I pay attention to everything that's going on. I know what's going on around me, so,
Yeah.
But I didn't see them on the gorilla, so.
You know what? And that's great that you feel that you do. But when we have an awareness of maybe I'm not, you start to actually notice that little bit more. Have you noticed? Let me give you an example of this. Have you ever bought a new car or new to you car, and it's a car that you think, oh, I've not really seen this very frequently. And then all of a sudden the car's everywhere and everyone's driving it, and you think, where have all these cars come from? Right? It's because you've not had a conscious awareness. You've not been looking for it. But when you look for it, it's there. It's quite interesting how the brain works.
Right? And then it's like, oh, everybody's driving like that.
Yeah, and they always had it. I'm going to give you one little quick experiment for you when you're driving. And right now it's hard because there's not as many cars on the road. You might not think there's many yellow cars out there. But when I tell you, play the yellow car game when you're driving and actively look out for yellow cars, there's loads of them. There are loads of yellow cars out there. But it's because you're not looking for a yellow car that you don't see it. So when you drive back home today or you're driving tomorrow, look for yellow cars. And I'm telling you now, you're going to see yellow cars everywhere because I've made you aware of it. It's really quite interesting. So guys, thank you so much for being interactive on today's session. It is recorded. I am going to be uploading it to a website that everyone can go and take a look at. only for you guys. It's a private link. And then the other 2 sessions will also be uploaded. So I know that you guys won't be in that live session, but you can go and watch it recorded too. There's going to be lots more value. The second one, we're going to be talking about building community, recharging ourselves. And then the third one's going to be about actually making personal development plans. So guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Go enjoy the rest of your shift. It's been lovely to meet you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Take care,
Ella.
guys. You're welcome.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.